Imagine waking up on a Friday morning in 1955. You head to work, and at the end of the day, your boss hands you a crisp, paper envelope. Inside? Just $50. In today's world, that wouldn't even fill your gas tank and buy a decent lunch. You'd feel behind before the weekend even started. But in 1955, that $50 bill was a weapon of financial freedom. It wasn't just paper, it was a promise that a single week of honest work could provide a life that most dual-income families today can only dream of. Today, we're opening the price vault to reveal 20 shocking things a $50 salary could actually buy in 1955 that are mathematically impossible today. Wait until you see item number 7, it's the exact moment the American dream shifted from a reality to a memory. The dollar wasn't just currency back then. It was a superpower. Let's see what yours was worth. Item 20, a full week's luxury grocery haul, $12. Price reveal, in 1955, $12 didn't just buy the basics, it bought the T-bone steaks, the glass bottle sodas, and the premium butter. Today, that same cart would easily clear $180. Lifestyle context, this meant mom didn't have to clip coupons to survive. Dinner was an event, not a budget calculation. Economic secret, agriculture was localized and subsidies were fresh. The middleman hadn't yet taken his massive 80% cut of the food chain. Emotional connection, the smell of a Sunday roast that didn't require a credit card to put on the table. Item 19, monthly utility bill for a 3-bedroom home, $8.50, price reveal, power, water, and heating, all for under $10. Today, utility monopolies have driven this closer to $350 or more in peak months. Lifestyle context, you never heard a father yell, "Turn off the lights, we're not made of money," because, quite frankly, you were made of enough money to keep the lights on. Economic secret, energy was viewed as a public service, not a high-frequency trading commodity. Pattern break, compare this to your last electric bill, and ask yourself where the progress went. Item 18, brand new Admiral 21-inch television installment, $5 per mo. Price reveal, while a TV was a big purchase, a $50 a week worker could pay it off with just 10% of 1 week's pay per month. Lifestyle context, this was the hearth of the home. The neighborhood kids would gather around to see the world in black and white, funded by a simple blue-collar wage. Economic secret, American manufacturing was at its zenith. Every tube and wire was made in towns like Peoria and Pittsburgh. Item 17, a night out for the whole family, dinner and a movie, $4.50. Price reveal, this included burgers, fries, shakes, and cinema tickets for 4 people. Today, you're lucky to get 2 popcorns for that price. Lifestyle context, going to the pictures, was a weekly ritual, not a monthly sacrifice. Micro hook, imagine walking into a theater with just $5 and leaving with change in your pocket. That was enough to change the mood of an entire household. Item 16, 40 gallons of lead equivalent gasoline, $9.20. Price reveal, at roughly 23 cents a gallon, $50 could literally fuel a cross-country road trip. Lifestyle context, the Sunday drive was born here. You didn't check an app for gas prices, you just pulled over at the neon sign because you knew you could afford it. Economic secret, domestic oil production was booming, and the dollar was still pegged to gold. Item 15, a month of top-shelf life insurance, $3. Price reveal, for the price of a modern cup of coffee, a father in 1955 could secure his family's entire future. Today, equivalent private coverage for a family can soar into the hundreds. Lifestyle context, this provided the sleep well at night factor. Peace of mind wasn't a luxury, it was a standard line item on a $50 budget. Economic secret, risk was calculated on stability. In 1955, the world felt permanent, and the math reflected that. Item 14, 2 pairs of genuine leather Goodyear welted shoes, $11.50. Price reveal, we aren't talking about cheap plastic sneakers. These were boots built to last a decade. Today, a single pair of high-quality leather boots starts at $250. Lifestyle context, in 1955, you didn't consume clothes, you invested in them. Your $50 salary bought quality that you could eventually pass down to your son. Economic secret, before the era of planned obsolescence, manufacturers competed on durability, not how fast they could get you back into the store. Item 13, full annual property taxes on a suburban home, $45. Price reveal, yes, you read that right. An entire week's salary could often pay the entire year's property tax bill. Today, property taxes in many states represent 2 or 3 months of full-time labor. Lifestyle context, this is why people didn't lose their homes in their old age. The government's cut was a small fee, not a second mortgage. Pattern break, the dollar wasn't just paper back then. It was a promise. A promise that if you worked hard, the ground beneath your feet was actually yours. Item 12, a professional tailored wool suit, $22. Price reveal, a man could walk into a department store and walk out looking like a millionaire for less than half a week's pay. Lifestyle context, pride in appearance was accessible to everyone. The middle class look was indistinguishable from the upper class look because the tools of dignity were affordable. Economic secret, textile mills were still the heartbeat of New England and the South. Made in the USA wasn't a premium label, it was the only label. Item 11, a brand new Frigidaire refrigerator installment, $6 per mo. Price reveal, financing a top-of-the-line appliance took only 12% of 1 week's pay. Lifestyle context, this was the symbol of the modern kitchen. It represented the end of the icebox era and the beginning of the frozen dinner convenience. Microhook, this wasn't a purchase. It was an investment in a new way of living. Imagine your monthly fridge payment being less than a single fast food meal today. Item 10, 1 month's rent for a 2-bedroom apartment, $42. Price reveal, for less than 1 week's salary, you could cover your housing for the entire month. Today, the average rent in many U.S. cities is over $2,000, meaning you'd need to work nearly 3 full weeks just to keep a roof over your head. Lifestyle context, this is the magic ratio of 1955. When rent only takes 25% of your income, the rest of your life opens up. You could actually afford to have hobbies, savings, and a social life. Economic secret, this was before the financialization of housing. Homes were places to live, not speculative assets for hedge funds. Item 9, a full year of college tuition at a state university, $130. Price reveal, you could pay for a full year of higher education with less than 3 weeks of work at a $50 salary. Today, at the same wage ratio, college would have to cost about $1,200 a year. Instead, it's closer to $10,000 to $30,000. Lifestyle context, in 1955, you didn't graduate with a debt anchor around your neck. You started your life at zero, not in a $50,000 hole. Pattern break, this is the moment where the American dream felt real. You weren't born into debt, you were born into opportunity. Item 8, a full hospital bill for giving birth, $60. Price reveal, bringing a new life into the world cost just over 1 week's pay. Today, without premium insurance, a standard delivery can bill out at $15,000 to $30,000. Lifestyle context. Families were larger because children weren't financial liabilities. A $50 salary meant you could afford to grow your legacy without fear of bankruptcy. Economic secret. Healthcare was a localized, fee-for-service model. There were no massive insurance bureaus. Item 7. Down payment on a new 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air, $45. Price reveal. With 1 week's salary, you could put enough down to drive a brand new, chrome-covered icon off the lot. The total price of the car was around $1,900. Lifestyle context. This is the one that hurts. The car wasn't just transport, it was a status symbol of the working man. Microhook. Imagine walking into a dealership on a Friday afternoon and driving home in a new car using nothing but your weekly envelope. That was the reality of 1955. Item 6. A 10-day family vacation to the coast, $48. Price reveal. Gas, a roadside motel, and saltwater taffy for the kids. 1 week of work paid for 10 days of memories. Lifestyle context. The annual vacation wasn't a luxury for the 1%, it was a right of the middle class. Economic secret. The travel economy was built for the average Joe. Hotels were simple, clean, and priced for the man making $50 a week. Item 5. A high-end Lionel electric train set, $18. Price reveal. The ultimate Christmas gift. At $18, it was a significant purchase, but it represented only about 35% of a single week's pay. Today, a comparable die-cast precision set costs $500 plus. Lifestyle context. Christmas wasn't a season of high-interest credit card debt. You saved for 2 weeks and bought the big gift in cash. Economic secret. Toys were made of steel and wood, built in American factories by workers who earned enough to buy the very products they were building. Item 4. 150 gallons of home heating oil, $19.50. Price reveal. You could keep a family warm through the dead of winter for less than half a week's salary. Lifestyle context. Comfort was a baseline. You didn't huddle under blankets to save on the heating bill, you turned the dial and enjoyed the fruits of your labor. Pattern break. Imagine a world where staying warm wasn't a financial decision. Compare this to your last winter heating bill. Item 3. A complete bedroom suite, bed, dresser, nightstand, $49. Price reveal. For exactly 1 week's salary, you could furnish an entire room with solid wood furniture. Today, cheap particle board sets cost $1,200 plus, requiring weeks of modern labor. Lifestyle context. This is why 1950s furniture is still in antique shops today. It was built to be a permanent part of a home, not a disposable item. Microhook. Imagine your entire bedroom set costing exactly what you made this week. That was the stability of 1955. Item 2. An all-season pass to a private neighborhood pool, $10. Price reveal. For 20% of 1 week's pay, your kids had a safe, clean place to play all summer long. Lifestyle context. Community wasn't a subscription service. Social life was built into the economy, making the good life accessible to the $50 a week man. Economic secret. Land and labor costs for maintenance were low enough that luxury amenities were within reach of the common worker. Item 1. 1 year of comprehensive family medical, house calls, $25. Price reveal. In 1955, $25 would often cover several visits where the doctor actually came to you. Today, just stepping into an emergency room can trigger a $2,000 bill before you even see a nurse. Lifestyle context. The doctor was a member of the community, not a line item in a corporate ledger. Your $50 salary bought you a relationship with a healer, not a portal login. Economic secret. This was the gold standard of care, low overhead, high personal touch, and zero insurance middlemen. Looking back at 1955, it's easy to assume people were poorer because they didn't have smartphones, luxury brands, or high-speed internet. But when you look at the numbers, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. A $50 salary wasn't just money, it was freedom. It meant a roof over your head, food on the table, a family vacation, a new car in the driveway, and peace of mind when you went to sleep at night. It was a time when one honest paycheck could build a future, not just survive the present. Today, we have more technology, more convenience, and more modern life than ever before. Yet somehow, we have less security, less ownership, and less peace. We work longer hours, earn bigger numbers, but the dream feels farther away. Maybe the real tragedy isn't that prices went up. Maybe it's that the value of our time went down. The vintage American price vault isn't just about cheap houses or low rent. It's about remembering a world where the American dream was real, where hard work actually meant something. And when we compare 1955 to today, one question becomes impossible to avoid. Did life really get better? Or did we simply become too expensive to live? If this video shocked you, make sure to like this video. Comment below and tell us, which price hit you the hardest? Was it the $42 rent, the $60 hospital bill, or the fact that one paycheck could buy a new Chevy? Share this video with your friends and family. And subscribe now, because the next decade holds even bigger secrets. And if you want us to unlock the hidden prices of the 1960s next, type this in the comments right now. Next decade. Because history doesn't just repeat itself. Sometimes, it reminds us of everything we've lost.